The story of D.B. Cooper remains one of the greatest unsolved mysteries in American history. This story is just so fascinating, how he actually escaped and no one found him to this day or knowed what happened that day. It's just really bizarre. Today we are going over the story of D.B. Cooper from 1971. Let's get into today's story. On the afternoon of November 24th, 1971, a man identified himself as Dan Cooper, who would later be called D.B. Cooper, bought a one-way ticket for $20 on Northwest Orient Airlines Flight 305 from Portland, Oregon to Seattle, Washington. Cooper was described as a middle-aged man around 40 to 50 years old, dressed in a black suit, a black tie, a white shirt and wearing sunglasses. As the Boeing 727 took off with 36 passengers on board, Cooper handed a note to a flight attendant who was called Florence, telling her he had a bomb. She thought it was just a random gesture and she ignored it, but Cooper then whispered, "Miss, you better look at that note. I have a bomb." The note claimed that he was carrying explosives and he asked for her cooperation. He wanted $200,000 in cash in $20 bills, 4 parachutes, 2 for himself and 2 for reserved, a fuel truck standing by in Seattle to refuel the plane for further travel. The flight crew and passengers remained unaware of this hijacking for most of the flight. The pilot contacted air traffic control and they worked with the FBI to gather Cooper's demands. As the plane circled Seattle for about 2 hours to give officials to organize the ransom and parachutes, Cooper remained calm and composed. He was ordering them and he ordered a bourbon and a soda. When the plane landed at Seattle International Airport, Cooper allowed all the passengers and some crew members to disembark in exchange for the money and parachutes. He inspected the parachutes and the money to ensure they met his demands. Cooper then ordered the plane to take off again, instructing the pilots to fly south towards Mexico City at an altitude of 10,000 feet and at a low speed of about 200 knots. He specifically instructed that the plane's rear exit, which had a retractable air stair, remain open during the flight. The flight took off with 5 people on board: Cooper, the pilot, the co-pilot, the flight engineer, and the flight attendant. At around 8 p.m, somewhere over the forest of southwestern Washington, Cooper strapped the ransom money to his body, donned a parachute, and jumped out of the plane via the rear air stair. The pilots safely landed the plane in Reno, Nevada, where authorities discovered that Cooper was no longer on board. Despite an extensive search, no trace of Cooper was found. The FBI scoured the area. They focused on the dense woods around Ariel, Washington, near the Lewis River, but there was no one there. There was nothing there. Over the years, some clues have emerged, but none have definitely solved the case. In 1980, an 8-year-old boy found $5,800 in decaying $20 bills, buried along the banks of the Columbia River. The serial numbers on the bills matched the ransom money, leading investigators to believe that they were near Cooper or near his trail. However, no further evidence was found in that area. Several suspects have investigated over the years, but none have confirmed as Cooper. The case remained open with the FBI for decades, with hundreds of potential leads, but all fizzled out. The theories about D.B. Cooper's fate are very vivid or wildly. Some believe Cooper survived the jump and escaped with the money, living out the rest of his life in secrecy. Several individuals have claimed to be Cooper or have been identified as potential suspects, but no solid evidence have supported these claims. Others argue that the jump was far too dangerous for an amateur skydiver and he when he jumped out of the plane and went in the woods, he fell and he died. And they think that he had died in the wilderness, and that his remains are somewhere there, but no one can trace them. But the FBI officially closed the case in 2016, calling it one of the longest and most exhaustive investigations in their history. Despite their best efforts, Copper's true identity and fate remain unknown to this day, fueling endless speculations about where he was and where he had been. And the story of D.B. Cooper has become a part of American folklore, inspiring numerous books, movies, TV shows, and documentaries. Despite the lack of evidence, no one still knows what and where D.B. Cooper went after he jumped out of that plane. But anyway, if you like today's content, make sure to like and subscribe. This story is one of the fascinating I have done, but make sure to like and subscribe, and I'll see you on the next one.